Have you ever woken up feeling like you just came back from another world? A place strange, yet oddly familiar. A dream that left your heart pounding, as if someone had whispered something deeply important, but you just can't remember what it was. Today we're going to step into the world of dreams from a perspective you may have never considered before. Not dry science, not blind superstition, but a journey, one where your soul might be in training. Night by night, symbol by symbol, emotion by emotion, things you thought were random may not be so random after all. You'll hear about ancient civilizations that saw dreams as gateways to the sacred realm. You'll meet real people whose lives were forever changed by a single dream. And you'll learn how to recognize whether you might be one of the souls that's been chosen. Before we go deeper into this mystical world, ask yourself one question. Have I ever had a dream that repeats like it's trying to tell me something? If you have, stay until the very end, because this isn't just a video about dreams. It's a reminder. 1. What if dreams are not random? The secret classroom of the soul. What did you dream about last night? Maybe you don't remember. Or maybe it's just a blurry memory. You're walking through a forest, someone calls your name, and suddenly you wake up. We're often told that dreams are nothing more than a jumbled mess, just the brain's way of clearing out mental clutter, a kind of psychological garbage disposal while we sleep. But what if that's not true? What if dreams are the soul's secret classroom? Picture this. Every night, as your body rests, your soul embarks on a journey to another place, a realm where time doesn't exist the way we know it, where understanding happens without words. Sounds strange? Maybe. But think back for a moment. Have you ever had a dream that felt profound, and even though you couldn't explain it, you knew it meant something? A true story, Jamie's dream. Jamie, a woman from Oregon, had the same recurring dream for 2 years. She was standing in a round stone room, dimly lit by flickering candles. Every time a man in a dark cloak would approach her, he never spoke. He would simply place his hand on her forehead. At first, Jamie dismissed it. Probably just too many late-night mystery shows. But then, during a trip to Egypt, she stumbled upon an ancient wall painting, and there it was, the exact room from her dreams. Every detail matched. She said, "I don't know what I learned in those dreams, but every time I woke up, I felt like I understood something big. I just didn't have the words for it yet." Little lessons from nameless dreams. You might not dream of ancient temples or sacred symbols, but those bizarre, funny dreams, the ones where you keep running but never get there, or where you meet a stranger who somehow feels familiar, they might be lessons in disguise. Sometimes the meaning of a dream isn't in the story, it's in how you feel when you wake up. Do you feel lighter? Do you feel like something needs to change? Or do you feel seen, even loved, though you can't say by whom? If so, maybe, just maybe, you've just returned from a quiet classroom of the soul. And if dreams really are a place where the soul is being taught, the real question is, who is teaching us? Could ancient civilizations have known this long ago? In the next part, we'll travel back thousands of years to discover how our ancestors understood dreams and why they believed dreams were the sacred path leading us back to the divine. 2. Ancient traditions in dream training. What the ancients knew. When we start to wonder, could dreams be a place where the soul is trained? The truth is, that question was answered thousands of years ago. From the deserts of Egypt, to the peaks of the Himalayas, to the deep forests of ancient America, the ancients didn't see dreams as random mental static. They saw them as sacred gateways connecting human beings with the divine. Kabbalah, dreams and the tree of life. In the mystical Jewish tradition of Kabbalah, it's believed that the human soul has many layers. And when we sleep, a part of the soul called neshama leaves the body to reunite with God. To them, dreams aren't just messages. They're journeys back to the soul's original source. Some rabbis dedicated their entire lives to recording their students' dreams, believing it was a way to measure their spiritual evolution. Hinduism, dreams as a second state of consciousness. In ancient India, sages called dreams swapna, one of the 4 states of consciousness, along with waking, deep sleep, and turiya, pure awareness. They believed that while dreaming, we enter a parallel world where repressed truths and hidden realizations begin to emerge. Spiritual seekers didn't just meditate, they practiced dream recall and journaling as a vital part of their training. Shamanism, when dreams become journeys beyond worlds. In places like South America and the Arctic, healers known as shamans believed dreams were where they received guidance from spirit animals and ancestors. Young shamans were trained to dream travel, to journey intentionally within dreams to seek wisdom, healing, or to retrieve lost parts of the soul. One shaman once said, "When I sleep, I don't rest. I learn. I listen. I remember what I forgot during the day." A small lesson from the ancients: listening is a sacred act. Though each culture had its own symbols and language, they all shared one belief: dreams are not to be dismissed, they are to be remembered. Today, we often reach for our phones the moment we wake up and lose the memory of a dream within minutes. But the ancients were different. They paused, they wrote, they reflected. Maybe listening to a dream is like listening to a close friend whispering something important in the dark. You have to be still. You have to be present. So if the ancients believed dreams were sacred paths toward truth, maybe even your weird dreams deserve more respect than you've given them. And now, let me introduce you to someone very special, Elijah, a young soul who began his spiritual awakening through what seemed like just an ordinary dream. But it led him back to an ancient vow he had forgotten. 3. Carl Jung, Archetypes and the Letters from the Soul. There's a famous quote by Carl Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst, that I've never forgotten. Dreams are the letters your soul writes to itself. Dreams are letters, not meant for others, but written to your own soul. Jung in the view of dreams as inner maps. Jung didn't see dreams as random or simply reflections of daily life. He believed every dream carries a symbolic message, something the waking mind hasn't yet grasped. To understand these messages, he turned to the concept of archetypes, the ancient universal patterns and characters that live within the collective unconscious. You might have dreamed of a wise teacher, a child, or a faceless shadow chasing you. They're not just characters, they are archetypes, parts of you trying to speak up. A real dream and the lesson Jung uncovered. In one therapy session, a patient told Jung she often dreamed of standing on a ship, sailing away from land, while a strange man stood waving goodbye. She didn't know what it meant, just that it made her feel sad, and the dream kept repeating. Jung didn't analyze the ship, he didn't dissect the man. Instead, he asked, "When the ship leaves the shore, how do you feel?" She paused. "Free," she said, "but guilty." That's when Jung helped her see, the man wasn't just a dream figure. He was the part of her that longed for stability. The ship, it was her soul, setting out to find something more real. Dreams don't speak in words, they speak in images and feelings. A small lesson from Jung: don't explain, listen. Jung taught us something profound. Dreams don't need to be decoded. We need to learn to live with them. If you dream of a winding road, instead of asking, "What does this mean?" ask, "What path am I on in real life and why do I feel so lost?" Every image in a dream is a piece of you that's asking to be noticed, loved, and understood, just a little more. But sometimes, dreams go beyond symbols. Sometimes, they're encounters, memories, signals from a place you once belonged to. And that brings us to the strange, beautiful story of Elijah, a young artist who kept dreaming of distant temples, until one morning he woke up with a drawing no one had taught him, a symbol no one had shown him, and a deep, quiet knowing that he had just remembered a sacred vow from long ago. For a real case, Elijah and the dream that unlocked ancient knowledge. In a quiet countryside near Thessaloniki, Greece, there lived a young artist named Elijah. He led a simple life, loved painting nature, and rarely paid attention to anything mystical. But one summer night, everything began to change. The first dream and the feeling that someone was calling his name. In that dream, Elijah found himself walking through a shadowy forest, golden light streaming like threads through the canopy above. At the end of the path stood a woman in white. She didn't speak. She simply reached out her hand. He followed her. Through the woods, past a moss-covered stone temple, down twisting hallways that seemed to echo with silence. No words were spoken, but Elijah knew she was leading him somewhere. To a place he had once belonged. Waking up and drawing something no one had taught him. The next morning, he jolted awake from the unfinished dream and immediately began to draw the symbol still glowing in his mind. a spiral intertwined with wings and fire. He had no idea what it meant. Until a few weeks later, when a friend invited him to an ancient Egyptian exhibition in Athens. There, among hundreds of artifacts, Elijah found himself inexplicably drawn to a single stone tablet. Carved into it was the exact same symbol he had drawn. The tour guide explained it was the seal of the keepers of knowledge, a sacred mark used in ancient Egyptian spiritual initiations. What had happened, a coincidence or a remembering? Elijah wasn't a scholar, he wasn't a mystic. No one had ever told him about that symbol. The only thing he had was a dream, and a feeling he couldn't explain that he had been there before. And the strange part, after those dreams his art began to change. It became deeper, more layered, as if someone else was painting through him. He said, "I don't paint to express anymore. I paint to remember." A small lesson. Sometimes you're not learning something new, you're remembering something ancient. Not all of us will dream of ancient temples, but maybe deep inside each soul, there are memories that haven't yet awakened. Maybe you've seen a symbol that pulled you in, without knowing why, or heard a sound that brought you to tears, though no one else around you felt anything at all. Maybe, like Elijah, you're remembering something sacred. So if you have dreams that keep repeating, or carry a feeling so strange you can't seem to shake it, don't brush them off too quickly. Because here's a truth that many souls on the path of awakening eventually realize. Recurring dreams are not a glitch. They are lessons deeply encoded into your soul. And in the next part, we'll explore why recurring dreams always appear right before personal transformation, and how to recognize the curriculum your soul is studying. Inside the dream world itself. 4. Real case, Elijah and the dream that unlocked ancient knowledge. In a quiet countryside near Thessaloniki, Greece, there lived a young artist named Elijah. He led a simple life, loved painting nature, and rarely paid attention to anything mystical. But one summer night, everything began to change. The first dream, and the feeling that someone was calling his name. In that dream, Elijah found himself walking through a shadowy forest, golden light streaming like threads through the canopy above. At the end of the path stood a woman in white. She didn't speak. She simply reached out her hand. He followed her. Through the woods, past a moss-covered stone temple, down twisting hallways that seemed to echo with silence. No words were spoken, but Elijah knew she was leading him somewhere. To a place he had once belonged. Waking up and drawing something no one had taught him. The next morning, he jolted awake from the unfinished dream and immediately began to draw the symbol still glowing in his mind. A spiral intertwined with wings and fire. He had no idea what it meant. Until a few weeks later, when a friend invited him to an ancient Egyptian exhibition in Athens. There, among hundreds of artifacts, Elijah found himself inexplicably drawn to a single stone tablet. Carved into it was the exact same symbol he had drawn. The tour guide explained it was the seal of the keepers of knowledge, a sacred mark used in ancient Egyptian spiritual initiations. What had happened? A coincidence or a remembering? Elijah wasn't a scholar, he wasn't a mystic. No one had ever told him about that symbol. The only thing he had was a dream, and a feeling he couldn't explain, that he had been there before. And the strange part, after those dreams, his art began to change. It became deeper, more layered, as if someone else was painting through him. He said, "I don't paint to express anymore. I paint to remember." A small lesson. Sometimes you're not learning something new, you're remembering something ancient. Not all of us will dream of ancient temples, but maybe deep inside each soul there are memories that haven't yet awakened. Maybe you've seen a symbol that pulled you in, without knowing why, or heard a sound that brought you to tears, though no one else around you felt anything at all. Maybe, like Elijah, you're remembering something sacred. So if you have dreams that keep repeating, or carry a feeling so strange you can't seem to shake it, don't brush them off too quickly. Because here's a truth that many souls on the path of awakening eventually realize. Recurring dreams are not a glitch. They are lessons, deeply encoded into your soul. And in the next part, we'll explore why recurring dreams always appear right before personal transformation. And how to recognize the curriculum your soul is studying. Inside the dream world itself. 5. Why recurring dreams are not a glitch. They're the curriculum. Have you ever dreamed of the same scene, the same person or the same action, over and over again? A room with no exit, a road that never ends, a face you don't recognize, yet it keeps returning night after night. And you ask yourself, why do I keep dreaming about this? Recurring dreams aren't a glitch, they're a lesson. When a computer glitches, it repeats because the system is malfunctioning. But the soul doesn't work like a machine. When a dream repeats, it's not because it's stuck. It's because something hasn't been completed. In both ancient traditions and modern psychology, recurring dreams are signals. There's something inside you that hasn't been seen, a lesson you haven't learned, a wound that hasn't healed. Maya's story, the dream of the broken bridge. Maya, a graphic designer in Chicago, had the same dream for nearly a year. She was running across a bridge. Every time, just as she reached the middle, the bridge collapsed. She would fall and wake up in a panic, drenched in sweat, always at the same point. Eventually, she met with a Jungian therapist. Through their sessions, Maya realized the bridge symbolized the trust she had in her father, who abandoned her as a child. The bridge always broke because deep down, she was terrified to move forward in relationships, afraid of being left again. After facing the pain, writing a letter to her father and forgiving him, the dream stopped. Repeating symbols are not meaningless. Here are a few common symbols in dreams that are part of a soul curriculum. Climbing a mountain, you're pushing past an inner limitation. Falling, you fear losing control or letting go. Repeating numbers 1111, 333, a universal message, a moment of transformation. Being lost in a maze, you're stuck in old mental patterns. You can start journaling your recurring dreams and gently ask, if this were a lesson, what am I being taught? A small lesson. Dreams don't return because you don't understand. They return because you haven't listened. A spiritual teacher once told me, the universe doesn't shout, it whispers, and if you ignore it, it will repeat itself until you're ready to listen. Dreams are the soul knocking at the door of your heart, night after night. You can choose to ignore it, or you can start to pay attention. But not everyone has recurring dreams like Maya. So how do you know if you are one of the chosen ones? How do you recognize when your soul is being trained at night, even if you don't remember it clearly? In the next part, we'll uncover 7 mysterious yet very real signs that you're being awakened. That you're not just dreaming. You are a soul being called home. 6. Are you the chosen one? Signs your soul is being trained. Not everyone has vivid dreams. Not everyone remembers the details when they wake up. But sometimes, the soul is still being trained, even if you don't realize it. And if you've made it to this part of the video, maybe it's not a coincidence. Who are the chosen ones, and are they even real? When you hear the phrase, the chosen one, you might picture a fantasy character from a movie or novel. But really, the chosen is just a way to describe the souls that are being awakened. Those who carry a quiet, persistent feeling inside, I'm here for something more. You don't need special powers. You don't need to dream of ancient symbols or talk to angels. Sometimes all it takes is learning to notice the quiet signs that keep returning. 7 signs your soul is being trained. 1. Vivid, unforgettable dreams. You're not just dreaming, you're experiencing. With colors, sensations, and details that feel just as real as waking life. 2. Waking up with strong emotions. You don't know why, but you wake up feeling sad, peaceful, or deeply inspired, as if you just went through a lesson you can't quite remember. 3. Symbols or numbers that keep showing up. 1111, spirals, wings. They appear again and again, not just in dreams, but in waking life too. 4. Frequent déjà vu. You enter a place for the first time, but it feels like you've been there before. You meet someone new, but they feel strangely familiar. 5. Sudden shifts in consciousness. You crave more silence. You start searching for meaning, asking deeper questions. Not because someone told you to, but because something inside you is shifting. 6. The sense of something watching over you, without fear, like a warm presence, silently guiding you. You don't know how you know, but you just know. 7. A longing to go home, even if you don't know where that is. It's a nameless homesickness, a sense that you belong somewhere else, and that somehow you're finding your way back. A small story, and the awakening from within. I once received an email from a viewer named Olivia. She wrote, "I've never believed in spiritual stuff, but lately, I keep dreaming that I'm studying in a massive library filled with books that have no words, only light. I don't know what it means, but for the first time, I don't feel alone anymore. I didn't need to interpret Olivia's dream, because I knew she was beginning to realize something was happening inside her. A small lesson: you don't need to search for a teacher, because when you're ready, the lesson finds you. Maybe you're not the chosen one in a fairy tale sense, but if you've been wondering about your dreams, if you've started listening to your inner voice, if you're feeling the world more deeply than before, then maybe you're not just a dreamer, you're a soul awakening. So if the soul is being trained each night, then what exactly are these dreams trying to teach us? Some dreams are for healing, some dreams are warnings, and some are turning points in your spiritual transformation. In the next part, we'll explore the 3 most common types of dreams people experience on their awakening journey, and how to recognize the hidden lesson within each one. 7. From dreams to awakening, the 3 types of spiritual dream messages. Once you begin to realize that every dream carries a message, sleep stops being an escape and becomes a meeting place between you and the deepest parts of yourself. Spiritual dreams aren't here to entertain you, they're here to awaken you. Not every dream is spiritual. Some really are just the brain's way of cleaning up memory, as science explains. But sometimes you wake up with your heart racing, your hands cold, or tears on your face. And those kinds of dreams usually fall into one of 3 spiritual categories. 1. Healing dreams. When the soul speaks what you never could. These dreams help you face repressed emotions, things you've avoided in waking life. Grief, old wounds, unfinished relationships. For example, someone once dreamed they were sitting at a dinner table, talking with their father who had passed away. For the first time, they were able to say, "I forgive you." The next morning, the weight they'd carried for years was gone. Healing doesn't always require action. Sometimes it's simply a meeting inside a dream. 2. Warning dreams. When you're out of alignment. These dreams feel tense or unsettling. Being chased, losing control of a car, getting lost in a crowd, or running into a dead end. They're not meant to scare you, they're meant to wake you up. One man kept dreaming of being trapped in a burning maze. After many nights, he began to question the job he was in. A job that was slowly destroying his health and stealing his personal life. He quit. The dream stopped. Sometimes what scares you in a dream is what you've been ignoring in real life. The 3. Initiation dreams. When transformation begins. These are the deeply symbolic dreams. You might find yourself standing on a mountaintop, stepping through a glowing gate, or being handed a book of fire. There's no clear explanation, just a knowing. Something has begun. One woman dreamed of flying through the stars and landing in a glowing library. After that, she no longer felt the urge to argue, compete, or prove herself. She began living with more peace and ease, as if something inside her had quietly shifted. You don't have to understand it right away, but you'll know when a dream is calling you. A small lesson. Every spiritual dream is a door. You can walk through it or ignore it. They won't force you. They won't scare you. They don't require your belief. They simply appear, softly, repeatedly, waiting for you to pay attention. And when you're ready, the lesson will be clearer than you ever imagined. But here's the interesting part. Even when you feel the sacredness of a dream, you might still question it. Am I really dreaming, or just making this up? Is this even real? Can any of this be proven? And that's where science comes in. In the next part, we'll explore how neuroscience, REM sleep, and lucid dreaming attempt to explain what happens during dreams, and what still lies beyond the reach of any machine. 8. Science versus spirit. What neuroscience can and can't explain. Here's the fascinating thing. Even if you've had a dream so vivid and powerful that it shifts your mood, your behavior, or even the course of your life, your brain still categorizes it as just a REM dream. What does science say about dreams? According to neuroscience, REM, rapid eye movement, is the stage of sleep where brain activity closely resembles wakefulness, and it's during this stage that most dreaming occurs. Using MRI scans, scientists can track brain activity, seeing which areas related to memory and emotion light up. Some studies have shown that dreaming helps us process memories, relieve stress, and boost creativity. For example, a research team at Harvard gave students a logic puzzle to solve. half were allowed to take a nap. The students who dreamed about the problem solved it twice as fast as those who didn't. Science teaches us dreams are essential. Dreams are beneficial. Dreams are a product of the brain. But there are things machines can't measure. No machine can track that aching feeling of homesickness when you don't even know what home is. No device can measure that strange pull you feel after dreaming about a stranger's eyes and waking up with tears in your own. Science can measure serotonin levels, but it can't measure the vibration in your soul after a deep, otherworldly dream. Yes, dreams may come from the brain, but if you've ever woken up thinking, I was just taught something deeply important, then you know, some part of you went far beyond your biology. When science meets the soul, Dr. Evan Alexander, a neurosurgeon, once believed dreams were nothing more than neurological hallucinations. That is, until he fell into a coma due to meningitis and experienced what many call a near-death experience. During the time his brain was completely inactive, he described being taken to a world of light, where everything communicated through pure emotion. When he awoke, his views had changed. He said, the brain doesn't create consciousness, it filters it. And when it shuts down, that deeper consciousness is set free. Science can point the way, but the heart decides the path. We don't have to reject science to believe in the sacred. And we don't have to abandon spirit to live in reality. Maybe the truth lies in the union of both. When you understand the structure of dreams with your mind and feel their meaning with your intuition, that's when dreams become a bridge. So if dreams are truly letters from the soul, how do we read them? How can we tell the difference between a sacred message and a fleeting hallucination? In the next part, we'll move into practice. How to decode your dreams like a seeker. With dream journals, recurring symbols, and tips to begin the journey of remembering layer by layer, level by level, your truest self. 9. Practical guide. How to decode your dreams like a mystic. If dreams are letters from the soul, the real question is, how do you read them? You don't need to be a mystic. You don't need to study ancient symbols or have a background in psychology. You only need to start from exactly where you are. Step 1. Keep a dream journal. Even if it's just a fragment. Most people forget their dreams within minutes of waking. That's why you should keep a small notebook or your phone's notes app right next to your bed. The moment you wake up, before checking your phone, before speaking to anyone, jot down anything you remember. An image, a word, a feeling, even just a color. A friend of mine, Liam, once said he never had meaningful dreams. But after 2 weeks of writing every morning, he began to notice a recurring image, a wooden bridge surrounded by mist, and that's when his decoding journey truly began. Step 2. Observe the symbols. Don't use logic, use the heart. Don't rush to Google for meanings. Instead, ask yourself, how does this symbol make me feel? What in my life does it remind me of right now? What part of me is trying to speak through this image? For example, if you dream of the ocean, others might say it represents freedom. But if the ocean makes you feel anxious, then maybe it symbolizes emotional overwhelm you haven't yet faced. Dream decoding isn't about finding the right answer. It's about uncovering what's being awakened within you. Step 3. Look for patterns, where the soul knocks more than once. If a certain symbol, person, or situation keeps showing up, know that it's not random. Create a simple log. Who appears in the dream? Where does it take place? What emotions are present? What details keep repeating? Repetition is the soul's way of showing you your current spiritual curriculum. A small lesson. You don't need to understand everything. Just start listening. Just like learning a new language, you don't need to understand the full sentence. You start with a few words, feel the rhythm, and slowly, the meaning unfolds. Dreams are no different. The truth isn't found in having all the answers. It's found in the deepening connection between you and you. Helpful tools for the journey, apps like Dream Journal Ultimate or Lucidity to track your dreams. Dream cards to explore recurring symbols. Pre-sleep meditation to ask for guidance through dreams. And eventually, after enough listening, writing, and trusting your own intuition, you'll stop asking, does this dream mean something? Because you'll start feeling it. Not as a mystery to solve, but as a continuation of the very path you're already walking. A whisper from somewhere far deeper than your mind can reach. And in the final part of this journey, We'll return to where we began, but with new eyes. We'll close with a gentle reminder. You are not just the one who dreams. You are a soul being awakened. 10. Final message. You're not just dreaming, you're being awakened. If you're still here, still listening at the very end of this journey, then maybe you didn't find this by accident. Not everyone has the patience to sit with silence. Not everyone is sensitive enough to look at a dream and ask, could something deeper be happening? But you did. You listened. You asked the questions, and maybe, just maybe, you were called here. Not by this video, but by your own soul. You're not just someone who dreams, you're someone who's being awakened. Think about all the dreams you've ever had. The strange images, the indescribable feelings. Those mornings when you woke up with a heavy heart or a heart full of light. Those moments weren't random. They weren't illusions. They were signals, pieces of a puzzle, lessons in disguise. And more than anything, they were bridges linking you to the most sacred part of yourself. A final story and a gentle homecoming. Someone once sent me this message, and I've carried it with me ever since. I used to think I was lost in life, but then I had a dream. I stood before a stone door carved with a spiral. I didn't know what it meant, but after that, I began meditating. I started listening, and I realized I wasn't meant to find a door, I was the door. What you're looking for isn't in the answer. It's in the act of staying and listening. Not everyone remembers their dreams. Not everyone believes in the soul. And that's okay, because the most important thing is this. You are ready to open a doorway inside yourself. And once you walk through it, life no longer feels like a repeating cycle, but becomes a gentle, conscious awakening. A soft whisper from the universe. Treat every dream like a letter from the universe, and each night as a sacred chance to learn, to remember, to return to who you truly are. Stay open, stay connected. If you've ever had a strange dream, a repeating symbol, or a deep sense that you're being taught something while you sleep, share your story in the comments, because maybe someone out there needs to read exactly what you've lived to realize they're not alone. And if this video touched something in your heart, please like, subscribe, and share it as a gift, because sometimes messages like this arrive exactly when they're meant to. Through someone like you. You're not just dreaming, you're being awakened, and the world needs you. Awake, present, and fully yourself. Wishing you deep dreams and gentle awakenings.